Thank you guys for joining. This is so fun. We are at Connexity, and we're squished into this tiny corner with 2 microphones, and there's a lot of togetherness happening over here. But I'm just really excited to have all 5 of us together in one room. I've been waiting to see the 3 of you together in one room now for a while, because I felt like it was just going to be so magical I couldn't stand it. And then when you were like, guess what, we're having dinner with Michael Shirley, I was like, well, I don't know him, but he sounds magical too. So he can come.
He is magical.
He is. Yeah, I've heard magical
really.
things. Yeah. So Michael Shirley, Josh Vaisman, Alyssa Mages, and Phil Richmond, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you, Dr. Katie Berlin, for having us.
Yes. Why, you're welcome.
That was very formal.
Very formal.
Yes, it was very formal. So with all of you here now, I can tell you're all going to be afraid to speak because you don't want to speak over each other. But don't be afraid to talk. I really want to hear what you guys think about this, because the theme of this conference is create a better world. Mm-hmm. And I can't think of better people to talk about what that better world might look like, because I feel like everything I see from the 4 of you is already aimed at that mission. I mean, I feel like you get up in the morning and you're like, I'm going to create a better world today. There's like little singing birdies and stuff. Like, does that happen?
Yeah, like the cartoons, remember?
Yeah,
exactly.
Like they fly into the window and perch on your shoulder and then you sing to them while you're brushing your teeth.
Sometimes it's the birds because I'm Wile E. Coyote and I run into something unintentionally, but...
Yes. I have the stars for the same reason.
Yeah. There's no anvils involved, right?
Yeah, no. It's mostly self-inflicted.
Yeah.
100%.
But seriously, that's how I think of you, because I just see such amazing things happening. And no matter what, if there are amazing things and they're happening, I look and somehow one of you is involved.
So my wife and I own a small animal hospital in Tennessee, and we require everyone that before they can interview at our hospital, they have to read a book called The Energy Bus by John Gordon. And it's 10 rules for kind of infusing positivity into your life and the way that you frame it. And if people don't read the book, they don't get to come in for an interview. But the rule number 1 is that you are the driver of your own bus. And that I'm excited to be beside these folks because they're my favorite speakers in vet med. And I'm naturally drawn to the message that they have about, in just positivity and workplace culture and just how you take care of people. And then those people can take care of your clients and your patients. And that's worked really well for us. We're almost 5 years in, and that has not failed. So so I would encourage everybody to read that book. But that's when you wake up every morning, you have to realize, like, I'm in charge of where I'm going today. I can't be in charge of what happens to me, but I can be in charge of my response to those things.
Yeah, and I love that you just said that too, and that's a really important differential. You know, how you respond versus how you react. Right? I mean, think about back to high school chemistry. Ugh. But I mean, they're volatile, right? There's heat, and it's instantaneous. Versus if you actually take the time and the thought, then you have a response. And it takes a lot of work, right, to learn how to do that. It's definitely not, I don't think for any of us. We had that instantaneous of, this is how I'm going to do this, and it's going to be easy. Yeah. It's work, but it's such good work.
I'll just be nicer.
Yeah. Just smile more. It'll make it better. No, not good vibes only, right? It's not.
Thank you.
Oh, God. I hate it.
None of you are going to be wearing a shirt that says good vibes only.
No. It's a really good learning moment, like a teachable moment. You know, when my mom got that for my daughter when she was little, and I was like, so we're not doing this. And she's like, well, why? And so we had that conversation. I was like, oh, I just taught my mom something. Whoa. You know? But it's really, and then in turn you learn from the other younger generation. So it's something, to consider too, is that we're always learning, right? Mm-hmm. Don't stop, because life's not going to stop teaching you, with the stars and bonking and all of that stuff. But, all joking aside, it's something that you have to choose your response and be thoughtful about your intentions.
Yeah. But I know Phil and I have had conversations where we've talked about how our ability to respond and not react definitely gets dampened by really difficult situations that go on and on.
Yeah.
It's like the more close to burnout you're getting, or the more the weight just gets piled on, the more that reflex of just like, I'm just going to react. I don't care. This is just going to come out of my mouth. It just gets to be like a hair trigger. And that is always a sign for me that something needs to shift.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what about the idea that there are a lot of problems in vet med at the organizational level, the institutional level, systemically, that we need to be addressing too. And so in some cases, it seems like it's very difficult to put yourself in the place where you can respond and not react. And it's easy to get resentful about that stuff. And what I love about listening to all of you is that you never seem to be nurturing that resentment. You admit that it's there, but you're not feeding it. But it's a delicate balance. So do you have like a specific resource that you go to, or like words of wisdom that you remember when you're trying to tread that line between what needs to change systemically and how we respond to situations that we may not be able to control?
I would say for me personally, it's vision. And it's understanding who you want to be. And so our vision is written out. And we talk about it every morning when our team gets together, and remind our team of our team vision. And then whatever happens to you or whatever you're experiencing, before you react, if you can check yourself to say, how would someone that is in it, wherever that goal is, how would a person that's productively heading towards that goal, how would they respond? And it's not to say that you can't live in some negativity, like not live in negativity. You can experience negativity. Like there are some things that really make me angry at our office, but I know that it's going to damage all the hard work that we've done for psychological safety in our office if I throw the door open and start yelling and screaming at people, because that is opposite of what our vision is. And so I think as I look at these other panelists here, they each have a vision for what they want vet med to look like, and I'm with it. Like I like it, and so that's why I think each one of them stays consistent with their messaging and the research that shows that this is the best way, like to make, like the theme, make the world a better place here. So to me, vision and having that goal and a clear understanding of what you want to be is how you can frame all your responses in the way how am I going to deal with this?
Yeah.
Love that answer.
Yeah, I think, you started off, Katie, by saying the theme of this conference is to make a better world. And for me, a better world, through the prism of veterinary medicine, certainly, but really just generally speaking, a better world is a world of humanity, where we sort of just embrace and recognize that we are fully human beings. And, all of us are doing the best we can each and every day with what we have to try and move forward and be productive. And so when I hear things like what Michael's talking about, I hear there are challenges, there are problems, there are moments where we're not at our best, and there are experiences that are negative, and there's an and there as well. And that vision for me, it manifests as possibility. Exactly. Maybe I'm not going to be at my best right now. Maybe you're not going to be at your best right now. Maybe together our profession is not at its best, and we can get there.
Yeah.
Because there are so many vibrant, beautiful strengths and possibilities that exist within all of the people of this beautiful profession and within the profession itself. And if we can start to lean into those strengths, we'll get through the stumbles and challenges just fine, and we'll build that brighter future.
It's the helplessness and the hopelessness that's the real enemy there, right?
I think our industry is plagued by a whole bunch of people that are experiencing bad things or negative feelings, and they think that they're the only one.
Yes.
And they're so afraid to share that with their coworkers that what Josh is saying, we're all going to have bad days. So if I'm having a bad day, I just need to be able to have trust in him and say, Josh, I'm having a really bad day today. Yeah. And he may say, dude, go home. Yeah. Because we would just rather you go home and deal with it than to be here and bring us down. Or he might say, well, let me take some of this load off of you. And then that builds trust, and that builds shared experiences that we can build on to make our practices better individually. And then by that, making VetMed better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I hear everybody speak, there was I forget what it was. I want the world to change, and it has to begin with me. Is that was for me? I was one of those people. Where it was very easy for me to have the blame thrower. It's everyone else's fault. I would be doing so great in this in this world amongst everyone if the 8 million people would just do what I want.
Yeah.
Well, I can't absolutely control any of those people.
Yeah.
And so it took, and we talked about this with a big reset. I mean, it took a big change in my life to get to a point where I realized that I was the only one that, I could control. And then once I did the work with me, then I was able to help try to give that away, because I can't give something away that I don't have. And I also can't, I have to have that self-compassion. Like Michael and Josh were saying, that if I'm off, it's okay, but I can't build the great things every moment, or I can't, and I have to have a little self-compassion that's there. And then it's, if we can do that on an individual level and know that we have to do that there, and then we work on the team level, and then help the people around us, and then also help the organizational level. And it works when it all comes together in that regard. But it had to start with me. I had to look at, I love the phrase, what part did I play, and everything. And so I had to see what that was, and then use some tools to lift myself up and grow. Yeah.
I love that. And I think that's, it all ties in together, right? And for me, what it became is I got into the profession to be the voice for the voiceless. And that shifted from the patients to the team.
Yeah.
And I kept hearing, I'm just an assistant. I'm just a vet tech. And I think it was Betsy Charles that brought it up, though, is I would correct him, like, you're not just anything. And she's like, where is that coming from? So again, that goes back to that response versus reaction. But it's really, for me, is flipping that definition, right? We love the English language, right? You have so many words that spelled the same, sound the same, mean two different things. Right. So instead of having the just be limiting, it's something to strive for, to be just. And to flip it from I'm not to I'm not yet. And to look for that potential. And from, when I had a leadership role years ago, I was not the right person for it. People thought I was, but I wasn't ready. And, to your point of having to start with me, it took, having a big personal moment where, I used to have a lot of hair, and, my mom went through cancer, and I shaved it off, and I was like, oh, that's who I am. Cool. So I wasn't just. I needed to be just. And it really was, go back to dentistry, right? And take a look at it. If you look at the tooth root from one angle, you only see two. But if you turn it, you see three. Yeah. So
Bugger.
I know. And that's the one that always cracks off. You have to send it out. But it's perspective, right? It's changing your perspective, flipping that definition, and really redefining who we are as individuals, and then what we can become as a profession.
Yeah. That last statement really rings true for me. What inspires me about the people that are sitting around me right now is that every single person here has really embraced this idea that, people, individuals, teams, organizations, hospitals, the community is where we are and where we can be. And that's the possibility, that's the potential. And what I see are people who are starting to view the world, take a perspective that we can create spaces that allow people to lean into what they can be. And that opens up so much possibility. That's where the energy comes from. Instead of, Katie, you're letting me down because, you keep taking 3 hours to extract this, molar, and I really need it to take 2.
This is a true story.
Yeah. It's accurate story.
It was a lower canine, but
yeah.
That route is so long.
Yeah, that's big. Instead of viewing it that way, it's Katie, what's preventing you from getting to what you are capable of doing? I know that you have all the skills and abilities that you need. You have the implicit talent to become the kind of doctor who doesn't necessarily need 3 hours to do this procedure. How can I help you get there? That's the same tooth turned in a different perspective.
Yeah.
And all wraps up into one of our favorite quotes: "Be curious, not judgmental."
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And that's
I just had that.
That's tough,
I just had
though.
that conversation with some people on our team. I'm going to use this as like a hey, help me, guys. Free consulting here.
This is actually a recorded consulting
Yes, that's
session.
right, thank you. So we just hired a new team member that came from a whole nother part of the country with a different culture and everything, and down to the south, and I had another team member that they were not communicating. They weren't. We would say "gee" and hawing down here. That's a mule term. Anyway, so but they were having the same conversation. Like they were in the same conversation, but they weren't having the same conversation. They weren't hearing the same conversation. And it was just interesting to talk to him. And I said, what you need to do, what I think would help you all, is add one more sentence to your question and explain why you're asking the question. Because what you asked a question and she heard it as an attack.
Yeah.
But you weren't trying to attack. You were looking for clarity. You just need to say that. Phil, why do you wrap a pack that way? Because I want to make sure that I'm doing it the way I know best, because that is not the way I learned. So I want to make sure that we do it the best way possible. Versus why are you wrapping the pack that way? Because because it was heard as, why are you wrapping the pack that way? You're an idiot. And you're like, that's not the way to do it. So they just had to add that extra sentence to explain a little bit more. Like, I'm curious as to why you're doing that, because I want us to be the best team we can be. And so that's helped. I probably need to apply that to my own parenting and stuff. So I do a lot better at managing the hospital than parenting.
I mean, it's hard to police yourself.
It's hard,
it is really hard to hear it when it comes out of your own mouth until somebody draws your attention to it.
Well, and that's the accountability piece, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm just honored to be here, right? Because I always reach out to Josh and I'm like, this is out of my wheelhouse. Like, help me out here. But we need that person or people in our lives, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to the gym unless someone's like, I'm tracking you on our shared app. And
Oh, that's hardcore. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I see you're not in your car yet.
A business partner and workout partner.
Yeah.
She's legit. But it's to that point is you have to have that someone holding you accountable.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be that authority figure. It can be a peer.
Yeah.
It's really just, how can I help you be the best you can be so you can help me?
Yeah.
And to shift that needle from a sense of competition, dear God, please no. Right?
Yeah.
And let's collaborate, right?
Yeah.
I talk on well-being and things like that. I infuse that with the work I do, but that's not my wheelhouse. That's what Phil and Josh are for, right? And I have a partner that works in management, but Michael knows way more about managing a practice than I do.
For me, this brings up a point that goes back to, you used a word earlier, Katie. You said the word hopeless. For me, there's something that actually comes even prior to accountability, which is just the experience that I actually matter.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost impossible to have these kinds of productive conversations, to hold somebody accountable, to empower somebody with something, if they don't actually feel like they make a difference in any reasonable way.
Right.
And we know that's an essential element to thriving. Human beings who don't feel like they matter end up hopeless.
Yeah.
Hopelessness is not a place of which you can be resilient, of which you can work towards your potential, it's which you can feel like you can actually extract that tooth at all. And so I think it just has to start there. We have to, that's why I speak about humanity. We have to start with just connecting as human beings and recognizing that this person has value. They have a strength. They're needed for some purpose. Let me help them see that.
Yeah.
Then you open up the doors to all the other stuff that can come from that effectively.
Be the mirror.
Yeah.
Be someone's mirror.
Be someone's
so
mirror.
they can see
Yeah.
how great they are.
What are y'all's tips for if there's a listener out there that's like picking up what you're laying down? They're like, I want to get this going in my hospital, and they don't have that currently. Where do they start? Like, what's the first step?
They call Phil Richmond.
Yes.
So let me say this, is that the first thing, we want to have a vision. And when you said create a better world, and then what Michael said, what I thought about is having a veterinary team where that's said, and my first inclination is not to think that person is attacking me. Yeah. Is to know, and not even that I have to have the thought, make the charitable assumption that I work in a team where if you make that comment, I know you want what's best for me. Mm-hmm. And that when you were saying having that team around us, what if that support team is our team? And I got to experience that at the practice that I was at, but we were very, very intentional about crafting that. And it took a lot of work. But where it came from was we changed the thought process is that we were going to make that an intention. We were going to empower staff. We wanted to work on education. We wanted to work on communication, and that was the thing. We felt like that was important. And it's beautiful when it's there. Like it's genuinely, it's a beautiful thing. And we're going to talk about this tomorrow, but it saves patients' lives, and it makes a place. In 2019, before COVID, we would say in the before times.
Yes.
Our medical team, we would say that we would come to work to get away from the world. That's the
wow,
right?
Yeah.
Like that.
Everybody just
that's
got
the
goosebumps,
create a better
I think.
world.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the veterinary medicine, because then everything else becomes beautiful.
Yeah.
Because then it comes, then
Emily
we go,
Bond.
and when clients say something, we're able to make that, we're in a place where we can make that charitable assumption, and we become curious. And when they say, if they say something, I don't take it wrong, and I'm like, wow, I wonder what they're going through right now. And then I have the emotional space to be there for that client. And that's what, that's the goal.
That's the
So
stuff.
do you think that if the practice owner is not on board, or the corporate management overlords aren't on board, can the associate vet, can the licensed techs, can the veterinary assistants, or the kennel folks, can they do that on their own?
Without leadership buy-in.
Revolt!
Right.
Viva la revolution!
Yeah, there's just
Right.
Les Mis in my head.
Because then potentially we vote with our feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To a point. Not saying that everybody will, but if we make that this is what we believe and this is what we want as an intention, potentially there's just, the owner or the leader's just not,
When they're scratching
not
their
with
head
it,
with
yeah.
nobody there working
What is
with
it?
them,
Like,
they may.
but then
they may
again, can I
do
get
it.
as a leader, can I get curious and what's going on? What do you need? What do we need to be doing differently?
And then the practice owners, what I'm hearing you say is that if the practice owners are listening to this and they're thinking this is a way I can retain my team is to create this culture, they need to just verbalize it with their team and maybe even involve them in the creation of the vision.
Right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's really taking that shift from like a hierarchical approach to a team-based approach, right? And to instead of top down or bottom up, it's inside out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And really making sure that, to your point, Josh, is that people matter, right? None of us in our practices would have a job without our CSRs.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Not sorry. And as a technician, I can't do what I need to do without an assistant. And you can't spell vet without VT.
Right.
Yeah.
Or run a blood machine.
As it turns out.
On one Friday night.
Right.
at our
And then the
practice.
whole practice doesn't work if we don't have people obtaining the facility, right? And then if we don't have a leadership team in place, right? So everyone has an integral part to play.
Yeah.
So you go beyond, I do shy away from the whole work family experience unless you are related to your coworkers, which happens, which is a good
Very
thing.
not creepy.
That's right.
Simply because that's not the same lived experience for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Family doesn't have that same connotation for everyone.
Right.
But this is, whether you're athletic or not, this is a team sport, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can do things alone, but should you? Right? And so when you have that mentality of like, hey, I've done this twice, I'm tapping out, then that and that's established, to your point, you're intentional about what you're doing, everything that you're doing. And you're recognizing that, if your clinical skills suffer, so too does your well-being. And then if your well-being is not maintained, your clinical acumen is not going to be what it needs to be.
Yeah.
So it has to be a holistic approach.
Yeah.
The whole person.
Yeah.
And a quote from this is such a great story, and when you said it really resonated. Is there was a psychologist, organizational psychologist that was interviewing these teams, and he went to NASA, and he asked a guy that was one of the janitors that cleaned the floor. I think it was years ago, and he said, what do you do here? And he said, I'm helping to put a man on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Because every job under that roof matters.
Yep.
And that I remember reading that, and it was just beautiful. And I know it's
Yep.
yeah.
Goosebumps
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
If NASA can do it, I'm pretty sure VetMed can
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
yes.
we're
Just
pretty
saying.
smart.
Yeah, and a vet clinic especially is a much smaller environment than probably a very large laboratory organization like NASA.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to see that everybody in that small space plays a really important role, and yet we still manage to forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And we still manage to come in and not say hello to each other and just go about our day. And I think a lot of our people have talked themselves out of wanting more.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about potential and the ability for each individual to reach sort of the pinnacle of who they can be and what their strengths will allow them to be. But I feel like we've trained a lot of our support team especially to believe that there's a ceiling, and this is what their job has to look like, and they've accepted it because it's been so long that's been the myth. And we have to, that's a big culture to change, is not only to convince leadership that they can create that environment, but to convince the people that they want that and they deserve it and they can dream.
Because dreams can be scary.
Yeah, it can be really scary. It can be really comforting to know this is my pigeonhole,
Yeah.
even if you don't really like the pigeonhole,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know what's happening.
Yeah, you know what's happening and you don't like it.
Yeah.
Next, and that, I think a lot of us have been in that situation. Maybe all of us have been in that situation.
Yeah.
And when you bust out of the pigeonhole, it feels so good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's really what we're doing, is creating a better world, is busting a bunch of pigeonholes.
Nice. I mean, I just got that visual.
Yeah.
Pretty epic.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I just wanted to go through what I didn't do at the beginning, because there's a lot of voices, and not everyone is going to be watching the video, is have you guys introduce yourselves so that they know whose voice is whose, because people listening are going to be like, this is a whole bunch of people, and I don't know who they are. They might have Alyssa, but that's it.
Oh, no. Oh my gosh, no.
Well, I just mean because
She's
you
kind of a big
sound
deal.
really different from them,
yes.
but also you're a big deal. But yeah.
It's the hair.
So, would you mind? Because I know Casey has a flight to catch, and we have to wrap
Yeah,
up shortly.
absolutely.
But
Be mindful of that.
I'd love to have you guys introduce yourselves.
Well, my name is Michael Shirley. My wife is Dr. Amy Shirley, and we own a small animal hospital in Murfreesboro, Tennessee called Family Pet Health. And some people might know me. I'm also the creator of the Veterinary Leadership Book Club, which is on Facebook. So everybody should join that. You can learn a lot about I don't have any original thoughts. I just regurgitate a lot of things I've read. No,
There's nothing new under the sun.
That's
Right.
right. That's right. But we package it up in a really nice way that you can even go through those books with your team, with your veterinary team, and makes a big difference. A lot of the things. I'm waiting for Josh's book to come out.
Yeah.
And that'll be, as soon as it comes out, as long as you get it on
press,
audio.
baby.
Audio.
Yeah.
There's gonna be
Okay, good. So narrated by you, I hope.
Yes.
Oh,
So
yes.
as soon as that hits, that'll be the next book in the book club.
Who needs guided meditations? And you have Josh read
That's
it.
right.
Josh, right.
Can you
So that's
imagine
what. So years ago, I managed a bowling alley, and I would always do the announcements for leagues. And routinely, people would come up to the desk and say, "You ever thought of being on the radio? You've got such a great voice." And I'd always say,
It is a good
"Do I
voice.
not look good enough for TV?"
Voice for radio.
You tell us. I think
radio,
you
yeah.
Face for radio. My name's Josh Vaisman. I am with Flourish Veterinary Consulting. I am inspired by this crazy idea that maybe since we spend so much damn time at work, it shouldn't just be something we survive. Maybe it should actually be something that contributes to a life well lived. So I'm on a mission now to take what some of the science tells us might actually make that possible and help veterinary organizations embed those practices into their organizations and teams so that people can actually thrive at work.
I have to follow that.
I'm also the fan club president the president of the Alyssa Mages family.
And you raise bees.
And I
And he
raise
raised bees, and the honey is delicious.
It is good.
It's really good. So, Alyssa Mages, I am a CVT. I am one of the co-founders of Empowering Veterinary Teams. And really what we're looking to do is transform veterinary team growth and development, focusing on the creation of training programs, starting with orientation and onboarding through growth and development, as well as focusing on those continuing educational opportunities, both live and in practice, as well as, webinars and coming to these events and hanging out and, bumping elbows with some of these amazing humans. So really just making sure that we can create a world where we inspire, instruct, and impact together.
And I'm Phil Richmond, and I'm sitting next to Alyssa.
Oh my God, I do not deserve any of this. This is too much. I am bright red. Stop it.
That's
it.
not good enough.
No, you are way bigger than I just. Come on.
Just don't list the letters. There's too many letters.
There's a lot
it's
of letters.
mildly extra.
Yeah.
It's mildly extra.
You're so extra.
So I am Phil. I'm the Chief Medical and Wellbeing Officer for Veterinary United.
Woo!
Yeah, woo, woo.
Woo!
And I'm the founder and CEO of Flourishing Veterinary Consultants, and the chair of the Florida Veterinary Medical Association Wellbeing Committee. And I get to do a lot of cool stuff with cool people sitting here. So yeah.
Making a big difference in
Yeah.
that.
And Phil is the person I call when I need somebody to be my sounding board. And usually he doesn't even have to say that much. He asks me a couple of well-timed questions, and then I know what I need to do. He never tells me what I need to do. He asks me the right questions, and then I know what I need to do. Because I probably knew before I called him, but I didn't know that I knew.
Yeah.
And that's happened so many times since we met. And there's something that all of you have in common. I just met you, Michael, but there's a certain energy that you feel from somebody where when you're talking to them and you're in a conversation and they make you feel like you are the only person in the world that matters to them at that moment. And that is common to all of you. It's very hard in a world where everybody's talking and nobody's listening to meet so many people who are so good at just zeroing in and being there with you in a conversation. It's a very rare gift, and you guys all have it. And I just want to say thank you for that.
Well, thank you for being you and having us here and letting us
It's a
be
pleasure.
human beings together.
And for your badass stickers.
Pretty much.
Those
yeah.
are
Oh,
really
yeah.
cool.
The stickers are good. Yeah.
It's the eyebrow. It's this eyebrow right
It's
here.
the eyebrows, yeah. Somewhere there's limited edition Frank doing yoga central line stickers. I have to track those down because they're pretty amazing.
Stickers, not the pins, but stickers.
Yeah, the pins, yeah. We got swag around AHA now.
I mean, seriously, they are
Have you
swagging.
heard? Yeah.
Swaggering?
Our swag game is higher.
It's
so.
clutch.
Anyway, well, thank you all so much. We could sit here and talk for 100 years.
No, I just came to be the fan club and watch, and I got to thanks for letting me talk
Yeah,
with you guys.
it's great.
No,
It's
but you're an
fantastic.
example of what practice management is.
Yes.
and
Well,
can be.
I think it's really important. This was when my wife came home. She did relief work, and she came home one day and said, "I think I want to open my own practice." It was actually after the AHA Connexity event, or it wasn't Connexity. Then in 2017, we came here because she was doing relief work. This was the closest CE, so we came. And after the speakers, it was not long after that she said, "I want to open my own hospital." And I was like, "All right, let's do it." And I asked her why, and she said, "I want to create the type of work environment where I want to go to work every day."
Yeah.
And
Hear,
she
hear.
said,
Yeah.
if my last place had done that and worried about me instead of the non-compete, I'd still be there probably. And I'm so glad that they didn't, because now we've taken our hospital from just her and 3 employees. Now we have 3 doctors and 14 employees, and we're about to start building a brand new hospital. And we wouldn't have been able to do that without help. All of these people that are right here have helped me along the way. And we just take care of our people, and they can then take care of our clients and the patients. And so if there's any managers out there that are like, "I don't know, this sounds hokey," whatever, I'm telling you, if you're having a retention problem and you're having, complaints all the time and people calling out sick all the time, if you worry and focus on their well-being, a lot of that's going to go away, and you're going to find that you have a waiting list, like we do, of people waiting to come work for you. And so that's why we're building a bigger hospital. and I'm not as stressed about. They're like, "How are you going to staff it?" I'm like, "I got people waiting," and it's because of the help that like every person here has helped me and helped our hospital, and so people listening need to follow these folks and listen and just take advantage of the resources that are out there. Whenever you see one of these people speaking, you should sign up for it and then implement it in your hospital and make a big difference. So thank you all for helping make our dreams come true. So, yeah. And thanks for letting me join.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for dropping in. All right, you guys, thanks so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. I will be seeing you two tomorrow because I'm your moderator. God help us.
Jelly.
And I hope you enjoy your night out tonight. And it's been a great pleasure.
Thanks, Katie.
Likewise.
Thank you, Dr. Katie Berlin.
Thank you.